So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy Ellen. I'm back, and I know it's not Shark Week quite yet. I'm just a little bit early, but you know me, I can't wait. So let's check out a little bit before it gets here. All right, did the South African Navy encounter a giant megalodon shark? Let's find out.
Megalodon sharks are now extinct members of the mackerel shark family that lived up to 3.6 million years ago. They were absolutely massive at up to 67 feet long. So you definitely wouldn't have
Imagine catching that on film up close and personal.
wanted to encounter one, but some might say they have, or at least a very similar shark. From the largest great white to a 100+ foot beast, here are 20 scary shark sightings that might just be Megalodon. Number 20. Deep Blue, the Great White. Most great white sharks measure between 11 and 15 feet long. That's just long enough if you ask me, but that's just an average, and some can be much larger. So large, in fact, you might just think they're a megalodon, or at least half megalodon. Let's look at Deep Blue as an example. She's approximately 20 feet long and is believed to still be growing even at more than 50 years old. Scientists think she is among the biggest great whites ever caught on camera.
She look kind of pregnant, don't she?
Some incredible footage of Deep Blue has been caught over time, such as that by conservationist Mauricio Hoyos Padilla in 2013, who was working for Discovery's Shark Week when they took amazing footage off Guadalupe Island in Mexico. The video footage showed Deep Blue swimming up to the dive cage housing the crew, having a nosy around, and then disappearing back into the dark depths of the ocean. Researchers have been able to tag Deep Blue to gather data like depth and location. The goal of tagging sharks like Deep Blue is also to help us understand their movements and behaviors. Otherwise, how are we supposed to update our wiki articles with cool facts? Before we go on, like this video, smash this.
Like, you gotta have some cojones to swim next to a shark that size, bro. Not playing.
Subscribe button and click the notification bell right now, or this centipede will crawl on your face when you're sleeping. Now, it's time for the star topic. At the height of the Cold War, the South African Navy managed to find and capture an absolutely huge shark. It was so big that many people asked, did the South African Navy encounter a giant megalodon shark? You know, it's actually possible. The photo we saw of this supposed encounter is...
This photo is definitely fake. This is one of the fakest I've ever seen.
Enough to loosen your bowels. The wide, gaping mouth of the shark appeared to be large enough to fit a great white shark inside, and its teeth could probably puncture through your skull like it was made of marshmallow. What do you think? Did they really encounter a megalodon? Comment down below with the hashtag StarTopic and let us know your opinion in relation to what we just showed on screen. With that said, let's keep things moving. Number 19. Vimy, the 13-foot great white. Seeing a 13-foot great white would be enough to make your blood run cold, but noticing bite wounds from something even larger gives you a real insight into how much we just don't know about the ocean. A megalodon might have created that bite wound, and we'd be none the wiser. The 13-foot great white shark that researchers called Vimy was caught off Nova Scotia.
When that dude was down there with his hand around the mouth and the shark was knocked out, all I could think about was that scene on Deep Blue Sea. When the shark wakes up and turns and bites that dude's arm.
His coast, and the bloody wound and incredible body scarring were immediately evident. OSearch, the US-based research organization that caught the shark, said that even though Vimy was one of the largest sharks they had ever caught, whatever attacked him must have been at least 14 feet, if not longer. The OSearch founding chairman, Chris Fisher, said something would have grabbed his entire head, and that it was possibly a male shark fighting over a mate, or a female who didn't want to mate. Shark mating is quite violent, so bite marks to the head are actually not that uncommon. Surprisingly, as giant as Vimy is, he isn't the largest they've seen. They also spotted an almost 17-foot great white, but it escaped before they were able to tag it. Number 18. 17-foot great
Wow.
white shark. A massive 17-foot great white shark caught back in 1983 attracted a lot of attention even all those years ago. But as we learn more about sharks, it's actually come back into the spotlight. We now know that it is one of the 2 largest measured sharks in the world. The giant shark was caught by an Alberton fisherman, David McKendrick, off the western side of Prince Edward Island. It had gotten caught in his net and was dead by the time he pulled it to the surface. By the looks of it, I'm surprised it didn't sink the boat. According to the Canadian Shark Research Laboratory, based in Bedford, Nova Scotia, it is definitely in the top 2 for the largest ever measured sharks. But perhaps even more surprising is that if the shark had lived, it likely would have grown much, much larger. New studies of its bones and those of other sharks revealed that sharks grow slowly and mature much later than we thought, so it was likely still young around age 20 when it died.
Looking at that big shark, only thing I think about is these little boats that be in the ocean. You know, these people be in these small little boats. Imagine that shark just rolling up and just hitting you and capsizing it. What you doing at that point in time? Nothing. Your dinner.
Great white sharks can live for around 70 years, meaning it still had so much growing to do. This news is actually not great for shark populations. Their numbers are dwindling, and their late age of maturity means the recovery rate may also be much slower. Number 17. Slash, the 16.4-foot great white shark.
Wow.
We're often told that great white sharks don't intentionally seek out humans to attack. They just take a sample nibble, and that, unfortunately, can be life-threatening. Although, if we're talking about Slash, the 16.4-foot great white shark, you can nearly guarantee he'd just bite humans for the fun of it. Slash is a huge shark that roams New Zealand waters and is described as one of the most aggressive great white sharks that Shark Dive NZ owner Peter Scott has ever encountered. He got his name, Slash, from the massive gash on the side of his mouth, which was caused by a botched tagging attempt by the Department of Conservation and the National Institute of Water and Atmospheric Research. Peter believes this tagging fail changed his attitude, and he became quite aggressive. You blame him? I'd be miffed if someone tagged my face and stuffed it up as well. Because of his major toot and resultant gash, Slash was called a local legend and also became the poster boy for the Discovery Channel Shark Week. He featured in one episode filmed off the coast of Stewart Island in New Zealand, which has some of the world's largest and most aggressive great white sharks. Number 16. Google Earth reveals Megalodon. We've made many discoveries through flight and satellites, so it's probably not all that surprising that maybe in the future we can confirm that megalodon sharks are not extinct. Instead, 1 or 2 might be lurking in the Persian Gulf. Researchers were reviewing satellite imagery from Google Earth and saw what they believed was a massive shark measuring around 70 feet long. While there hasn't been any confirmation or extra information about what that shark was, there's
70 feet? Yeah, I just want to hear about him. I don't want to see him.
every reason to believe it might just be the big-toothed megalodon. They can grow up to 67 feet, so 70 feet isn't really out of the question, and they would look quite like great white sharks in the water. That's because they are their close relative. It's also not absurd to find them in the Persian Gulf, since fossils have been found all around the world and bordering most oceans. The Persian Gulf is a Mediterranean sea in Western Asia that's essentially an extension of the Indian Ocean between the Arabian Peninsula and Iran. As there's nowhere that a megalodon wouldn't be found, finding one here would make perfect sense. Number 15. Shark feasting on a whale. By now, you're probably quite familiar with Deep Blue, the approximately 20-foot-long great white shark tagged by researchers. Well, Deep Blue appeared in the news again more than 20 years after that event. The shark, weighing around 2.5 tons, was seen near the Hawaiian island of Oahu eating a dead sperm whale. Tiger sharks had stumbled across the feast first, but Deep Blue wasn't about to miss out. Kimberly Jeffries and Mark Moeller clearly
I'm surprised he the only one. And he's biting it. More blood's going into the water. I would suspect that would be like a frenzy, a feeding frenzy of sharks.
Had no fear because they chose to swim alongside the massive shark and record its dinner time. Kimberly shared the videos and photos online and described waiting quietly and patiently and observing deep blues swimming up to the sperm whale carcass. Kimberly also wrote on her Instagram page how the shark had swum so closely to her that she had to put out her hand to maintain space for the shark's girth to pass. Kimberly and other activists have requested a bill to be reintroduced into the Hawaiian legislature that would make it illegal to kill sharks and stingrays. Often they're killed for their fins, which are considered a delicacy.
What?
Number 14.
Their fins? I've heard of people eating shark before with the fins, though. I think that might have been the first time I've heard that.
Swimming with a great white shark. How would you feel if a great white shark came up next to you? Most people would be absolutely terrified, but marine biologist Ocean
I'd pass out, and then I'd probably pass out again.
Ramsey described her experience as filling her heart with joy and taking her breath away. Ocean has been studying these huge sharks for over a decade, but her swimming encounter with one thought to measure about 20 feet long was purely accidental. She and her team had been studying tiger sharks off the coast of Oahu when the 20-foot long, 8-foot wide one weighing over 2 tons ended up swimming beside her. Most people would have feared for their life, but Ocean said she was fortunate enough to be graced with the presence of the female shark. She thinks it was most likely the world-famous deep blue, but she was waiting for experts to confirm. She also believed the shark was pregnant. Ocean was happy to share her
See, I said the same thing. That side view gave you like pregnant shark vibes.
Experiences with the world.
And if that shark is big, sometimes your children are bigger, they grow up to be bigger, so we'll see, I guess.
And hoped her encounter with this great white shark would inspire people to protect sharks. She said it's sad that people think they're monsters and want to kill them due to watching movies like Jaws. Number 13. 550-pound shark. Not all massive sharks are great white sharks. When 7 fishermen captured a huge 550-pound shark, it sure did look like a great white based on its size, but it was actually a porbeagle. Porbeagles are mackerel sharks just like the Megalodon was, but they live in cold and temperate marine waters. They also have an average weight of 298 pounds, but this one was clearly living life to the fullest to tip the scales at 550 pounds. Simon Davidson hooked the shark just 7 miles from the Devon coast and fought to reel it in for an hour.
Uh-oh, he got a hook in his mouth. We need that lady from the other video who sits around and collects. For y'all who didn't see it, there's a lady who swims down, who deep sea dives down and takes the hooks out of the shark's mouth. Yeah, I know. It was crazy the first time I heard it too, but it's true. She does it. And she collects them.
He describes having a battered body after trying to bring it on board the boat. He and 6 others wrestled to secure the shark to their boat so that they could measure it. It was almost 7 feet long, 6 feet in circumference, and weighed an estimated 550 pounds. If that's true, it would be the biggest ever porbeagle caught in British waters. Simon was a freshwater angler but liked the idea of big game fishing. He had heard that the North Devon coast was an excellent location for porbeagles, so he hired a boat and spent 2 days fishing. When he caught the porbeagle, it took nearly 2,000 feet of line as it took off through the water before he was finally able to bring it back. After measuring it, he unhooked it and let it go. Number 12. 12-foot great white shark. Great white shark populations could be in danger, so capturing any we find and tagging them to gather data can actually be quite important. Chip Michaelove is no stranger to capturing great whites, but he had quite the experience trying to catch and tag one measuring a whopping 12 feet long. The charter fisherman who owns Outcast Sport Fishing usually sees at least 10.
That was pretty bold. I thought he was about to stick his hand in his mouth. I was about to say he finna lose all that, his whole hand.
Great whites over winter, but he had to try 4 different locations on one of his latest trips to find the 12-foot beast. He managed to catch, tag, and release it off Hilton Head Island, and scientists in Massachusetts will keep an eye on the data to track its movement. Chip said he sat on the boat for about 2 hours watching the water, knowing that you would typically see them approach the boat. However, this one came when his back was turned, and it took off with with 2 lots of false albacore bait that were attached to 2 rods. He and one other person had to work quickly and carefully to get the shark back to the side of the boat. It turned out to be a 12-foot female, and they placed pop-up and acoustic tags on her before carefully releasing her. Number 11. Fisherman has close encounter. 2020 was a challenging year for many people, but it was also the year that Australian fisherman Matthew Smith thought he was gonna die. He was out fishing on his kayak about a mile from New South Wales Blackhead Beach on Australia's east coast when he saw a 13-foot great white shark looking at him as it glided past. The entire experience was caught on a drone camera operated by his friend Nick O'Brien, but the whole time, Matthew wondered whether that—
Remember those little boats I was talking about? Guess who win one? This joker right here. He crazy.
day was his last on Earth before he was about to become fish food.
No! No! Oh!
Nick had to watch the situation unfold from a screen, and he was too far away to do anything. He just had to hope that the shark heading for the bright green boat wasn't going to cause any trouble for Matthew. The shark showed interest in his sea anchor, so he quickly dumped it into the ocean. Fortunately for Matthew, the shark may have been put off by the noise of the drone, and it didn't take a bite of him or his kayak. Matthew said,
He lucky. But you shouldn't even be allowed to go on boats that small in the ocean. It should be banned. That's just not smart.
He would continue fishing even after his experience, but planned to take a bigger boat. Matthew was incredibly lucky, but his fears of death weren't unfounded. According to conservationists, more people were killed in attacks in 2020 than since 1934. Number 10. Giant shark sparks megalodon theory. Cruise ship trips can be pretty exciting as you get to make your way to new places and enjoy on-ship entertainment. But the cruise operators were not in control of the entertainment many of the guests got in 2021. Many of them were screaming and shouting as they watched a massive shark circling the waters around their ship. Musician Alex Albrecht filmed the encounter and uploaded the video to his TikTok account, which obtained tens of millions of views. It showed the shark swimming in a circle near the water surface and tourists rushing to the very edges of the ship to get a closer look. Honestly, if it were me and there was an unknown shark in the water, I would not be getting as close to the edge as they were. Some people were convinced the shark was so large that it was a megalodon. However, it was a much more innocent species. Experts later identified the shark as a basking shark. They can grow up to about 39 or 40 feet and weigh as much as 6 tons. Basking sharks are the second largest living sharks, but they are harmless to humans and not aggressive. That's a relief. Number 9. Great white shark leaps at seal. When you see pictures taken by the award-winning New Zealand photographer Chris McLennan, there's probably no doubt in your mind why most of us are scared of great whites. Not only are they absolutely massive, but just look at how they leap out of the water to feast on poor, defenseless seals. Chris traveled to Seal Island off the coast of South Africa's Cape Town to witness shark breaches and take photos of them. The shark-infested waters around Seal Island are one of the only places known in the world where sharks actually breach the water surface to hunt prey, normally Cape Fur seals. Chris said that anyone who's photographed wildlife before would know that this type of behavior is rare to witness and hard to capture in photos. While he had to use a decoy seal towed by a boat when nothing was happening, he still managed to capture the great whites doing what they do best, eating other animals. He took photos of over 24 shark—
That's even more scarier in slow motion, bro. You know what I'm saying? That's even more like just, oh my gosh, fam.
breaches in just 1 hour, and the—
So imagine yourself leaning over a boat and he thinking you a seal and he just come out the water and just grabbed you. But you thinking you good because you in the boat, you just leaning over it.
images he captured were absolutely breathtaking. The sharks were huge, and they managed to leap great heights into the air to grab lone seals that had been separated from their groups. Number 8. 100-foot megalodon washes ashore. I'm not too fond of the internet sometimes. There's so much false information that anytime you come across something that might be legitimate, you have to question whether someone's gone to great lengths just to make it look real. This might be one of those situations. A news article was published on April Fool's Day in 2016, but on YouTube in August 3 years prior, showing what appeared to be a 100-foot-long, recently deceased megalodon on a beach in South Africa. The footage was apparently from the Coast Guard, which had come from a helicopter circling overhead. It showed two large dump trucks positioned in front of a clearly huge shark, and all signs point to it being the Megalodon that we thought and know is extinct. But the article is still super convincing. It describes the footage being taken by Lieutenant Commander Joe Cleese of the South African Coast Guard, with comments from Dr. Robert Chitillian, who has a PhD. Dr. Chitillian said that if it's confirmed, it'll be one of the most significant discoveries in recent history and a more extraordinary find than prehistoric dinosaurs. But if you search Lieutenant Cleese's name, or even Dr. Chitillian's, there's simply no information about them other than what's in the story. Is it real or is it fake? Let us know what you think. Number 7. Deep sea shark checking out submarine. There are plenty of sea creatures that we know exist, but that's as far as it goes. We often don't know anything about how they live, how they spend their days, or their habits. Thanks to the incredible efforts of marine biologists from Ocean X in a submarine, we may now learn a little bit more about blunt-nosed six-gill sharks. The research team spent 4 days and used 300 pounds of bait trying to tag one of these sharks. Not only did they finally accomplish their goal and make history by being the first group to tag an animal from a submarine, but they had incredible experiences along the way. For example, they found several blunt-nosed six-gill sharks measuring up to 16 feet long and a large...
Like, that's so close. You could just reach out and just listen to them or listen to them eat, chew. You reach out and touch them, like...
female who seemed to be intrigued by the submersible vehicle. They managed to film the entire interaction. This interesting shark species is poorly misunderstood and lives at depths of up to 3,300 feet. However, they've also been recorded swimming up to 5,000 feet below the ocean surface. They date back about 180 million years, and that's about as much as we know. Hopefully, this tagging allows us to learn a little bit more about what they get up to. Number 6. 30-foot shark passes by fishing boat. Imagine being on a 23-foot fishing boat and seeing the shadow of a shark so large that it's longer than the boat by several feet. You'd be quivering in your flippers. Coastal Carolina business student Jack Spear, who was aboard the boat, said the shark was so big they didn't even think it was a shark. They thought it might have been a buoy, but when they got closer, they saw a fin. While they might have assumed it was a great white shark and started to feel a little nervous, they quickly realized it was a much more harmless basking shark. According to Jack, it was easily 5 feet longer than the boat and not shy at all. It was swimming laps of the boat and didn't seem to be too worried about them being there. Even though the shark was absolutely enormous, Jack said that they weren't worried. He stated that basking sharks don't even eat other fish, so he wasn't nervous. Although it might have been a different story had that been a 30-foot-long great white shark. Number 5. Great white shark caught in Mexico. When you go out fishing on a boat, you generally take a few pieces of safety equipment like a life ring and a life jacket. But if you think about it, how effective would these be against a great white shark? Probably not at all. Fortunately for fishermen in Mexico, the great white shark that could have quite easily overpowered their boat and taken their lives was dead. They had been fishing from the Sea of Cortez off Sonora State when a massive 2,000-pound, 20-foot great white shark became caught up in their nets. Unfortunately, it died. However, that was good news for the men who believed that it would have quickly taken over their small boat had it been alive. Sadly, great white shark numbers have been declining since the 1970s. We don't know the global population numbers, but they are considered vulnerable. Fishing businesses often target them for their fins, teeth, and jaws, and they're enjoyed in sport fishing. Most oceanic sharks and rays have declined by at least...
So, of course, we're to blame. Yep. Us out here taking the teeth, the jaws, and fishing them for sport is causing them to somewhat go extinct. So we gotta chill. I feel like they should have certain laws and different things in place. I remember when I watched Swamp People, like it was only a certain amount of time when they could hunt the alligators. You know, it was only certain times of the year, and then if the population got out of control, they would allow certain ones to do it, to go out there and do it. So it's like they should implement something here for these sharks, man. You know what I mean? And it's weird defending great whites. That just feels so weird. My bad. It do though.
70% since the 1970s, with the leading cause being overfishing. While not all fishermen intend for sharks to get caught up in their nets, it's a sad consequence of using nets large enough for them to get caught in. Number 4. The Kangaroo Island Great White Shark. Some of the largest great white sharks in the world have been around 18 feet long, but experts believe it's not impossible for there to be even larger specimens out there in the vast open ocean. An example of a larger shark might be one caught near Kangaroo Island in Australia in 1987. It was believed to be over 7 meters, or nearly 23 feet long, but scientists have long questioned these claims. The shark size estimation methods used suggested that it was more likely to be 19 to 21 feet long, but the photographic evidence tended to lean more towards the shark being even larger than that. Scientists wanted to put this size issue to bed once and for all, so they conducted a comprehensive morphometric analysis of the shark's remains and re-examined the photo evidence. Their goal was to validate the original size estimates. Their findings were consistent, and they determined that the original estimates of about 23 feet couldn't have been ruled out. Honestly, does it really matter? Let's face it, a 19-foot shark is just as capable of killing you as a 23-foot shark.
That I agree.
Number 3. The Marino Bay, Australia Shark. How many sharks would take kindly to you approaching them with a tape measure and asking them to stay still while you took measurements and notes? Yeah, not many. So when people say they photographed what might be the largest ever found great white shark, you have to take that claim with a grain of salt. We just can't know for sure unless the shark is captured and safely restrained. An Australian crew with a non-profit organization said they spotted a large great white shark about 300 feet from the shores of Marino Bay in South Australia. They said it was approximately 23 feet long and deduced this by using their 20-foot jet boat to compare. The shark was bigger, they said. James Cook University marine science professor Colin Simpfendorfer said judging size from photos is always challenging. You can get a sense of size, but measuring with accuracy when there are very few size references in a photo does make it difficult. According to a comment on the Shark Alerts South Australia Facebook page, the crew are professionals, so there are no lies on the length. They said that, as stated, it is the biggest they've ever seen. Number 2. The Malta Shark. One of the largest great white sharks in history was captured by complete
I don't care dead or not. I just ain't sticking my head in there like that.
accident in Malta in 1987. Alfredo Kudahar, a fisherman from a village called Wied is Zurich, was fishing for tuna and swordfish. He wasn't having much luck, but boarded his 16.4-foot boat at 4:30 a.m. one morning in April and decided to check his hooks and collect his bait. As he checked them, he discovered something heavy on one and signaled to a fishing boat nearby to help him bring it in. It was much longer than his own fishing boat and took 3 hours to bring it back to the village. It was taken to a nearby village to have all of its measurements taken, and another fisherman started cutting it open. An intact 6.5-meter blue shark, an 8-foot dolphin in 2 pieces, and a turtle all came out. It was reported that the shark was measured twice from the point of the snout to the upper lobe of the tail, and it measured 7 meters and 14 centimeters, or 22.96 feet and 5.51 inches. However, when Alfredo was interviewed for the documentary Jaws in the Mediterranean, he said the shark was 7.01 meters or 23 feet after previously saying it was 23.7 feet long. He then went back to his original story in 2001, saying it was 23 feet and weighed over 6,300 pounds. As it was such a long time ago and so many people were involved in its capture and measurements, it's hard to know just how accurate the story is, or how large the shark truly was. Number 1. Monster tiger shark in Sydney. You might be impressed by the 3-pounder salmon that you caught all by yourself, but a group of fishermen in Sydney, Australia deserve the bragging rights for their haul way more. Captain Paul Barning and his crew aboard the Dark Horse fishing boat were fishing off the coast of Sydney when they managed to hook a large tiger shark. And by large, I truly do mean large. It weighed 394.5 kilograms or 869.7 pounds and was so big that its head dangled off the edge of the boat as they made their way back to shore with it. It took about 45 minutes for them to reel it in, and they eventually manhandled it onto their boat to take it to be weighed at Port Hacking. That was when its incredible weight was realized. Tiger sharks are not listed as endangered, but they are listed as near threatened, so the fishermen did cop a lot of criticism online. In New South Wales, you are only allowed 1 tiger shark catch daily. Because of the criticism of the sport, many game fishers who do bring in quite incredible catches don't like to share them on the internet. They're worried about receiving the same level of criticism. Tiger sharks are requiem sharks that can grow over 16 feet long. They are massive macro predators that live in tropical and temperate waters and are solitary nocturnal hunters. They are second next to great white sharks for the highest number of fatal attacks on humans. But it actually seems like they should be more afraid of us. We are one of their biggest threats due to fishing and finning. Sure, scientists say that the Megalodon shark is extinct, but I'm not convinced. Are you? There have been outrageous shark.
I am not. I am not. And for all you fishermen who are out here capturing these sharks or sport fishing these sharks and stuff like that, bro, did you see them put that shark? Like, that shark looked like it could sink the boat. You better know what you're doing. You better know what you're doing out here, man. Y'all gotta be careful, fam. Y'all out here in these little teeny boats. Like, y'all are reckless, man. And you constantly hear about this. Like, Shark Week ain't just start. That's been a thing for years, decades. Like, so what are you doing? Pay attention, or you gonna end up on one of these videos, man, and that ain't gonna be good. You know what I mean? But y'all get at me in the comment section. Let me know what you think. Have y'all ever had any shark encounters other than like fishing off of a pier or something like that and catching a shark? Because that's where most of my shark encounters were. Fishing off the pier, not knowing what you're pulling out the water, and it so happened to be like a little baby shark. Queen caught one. You know what I mean? But y'all get at me in the comment section, man. Let me know what you think, and stick around and stay tuned. Till the next one, I'm gone. Peace.